Israel and the United Arab Emirates came to a deal to normalize relations between those countries, establish full diplomatic relations, and stop the further annexation of the West Bank by Israel. However, the historic agreement has left much of the Arab world divided, as the deal seemed to have largely erased the Palestinian cause from the narrative. To make matters worse, the deal comes amid a renewed blockade on fuel and escalating tensions between Israel and Gaza. Now, the Gaza Strip is literally a tiny strip of land that is considered to be the most densely populated area in the world. I traveled to Gaza last October and witnessed those struggles firsthand. Those who live in Gaza are in constant blockade by the Israeli government. No food, no aid, no energy, or even movement in and out of the country can come without approval. And yet there was no mention of this in the new deal. In fact, Israel is blocking the little fuel that Gaza does get from going in, which Gazans depend upon for their electricity. Back in 2019, I spoke to a young woman in Gaza about the difficulties of living with power only a few hours a day.
Gaza since 2006 has been suffering from electrical crisis. We enjoy only like 3 to 6 hours of electricity a day. So I'm sarcastic by saying enjoying.
Israel is also further limited an already puny fishing area in the Mediterranean. Fishing is a major part of the Palestinian economy. This fisherman was shot in the eye by an Israeli patrol who said he was fishing outside the allowed boundaries. He claims he was nowhere close. Stopping the annexation of the West Bank, another part of the Palestinian state, was part of the deal, but doesn't actually mean much. Nearly 600,000 Israeli settlers already live in the area, many under false pretenses, created by and enforced by the Israeli military, despite the occupation of Palestine by Israel being clearly against international law. So what is this deal really achieving? As with most things in the Middle East, nothing is cut and dry. So for a deeper look, I'm joined by my colleague, NBC foreign correspondent Matt Bradley. Matt?
Yeah, Ali, what this deal achieves, it actually does. It cannot be diminished. It achieves quite a lot. And this is going to contribute undoubtedly towards peace and stability in the region. That having been said, everything that you mentioned about the Palestinians is absolutely correct. And, you can even see it, Ali, if you look at the formal statement that was issued by the United Arab Emirates just a couple of days ago. They mentioned the Palestinians once in the very end of their statement. The rest of it is laudatory about the role of the U.S. and Israel. And that's why there's just so much anger in the region about this. But again, I should state, for almost the entire diplomatic community, the world over, this is seen as a great new development. But for the Palestinians themselves, they see this as a betrayal by the UAE. And other people in their camp also see it that way. We got to remember, Ali, like you were saying, this is going to basically stop the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu might annex as much as a third of the West Bank. But it's a suspension. And Benjamin Netanyahu has made it very clear in repeated comments ever since this deal became public that he intends to fully annex the West Bank in the same way that he had proposed before, that 30% of the West Bank. And this is what he considers to be just a delay. And it's also, Ali, another example of Benjamin Netanyahu kind of pulling from other world leaders' playbooks and basically creating this problem where he threatened to annex a lot of the West Bank and then takes credit for solving the problem. So that's why a lot of Palestinians, a lot of people in the Arab world are calling this little more than blackmail. What was done here was just basically averting a disaster that was of Israel's own making, that annexation of the West Bank, which again was just suspended. It hasn't been all out canceled. And we've already been hearing from other groups like Iran and Turkey. They're furious about this because they consider themselves to be fully in the Palestinian camp. They are the Palestinians' champion, both in the region and the world. And from what they can tell, this is not a good deal for the Palestinians because they aren't mentioned at all. Ali?
Matt, good to see you as always. Thank you for your reporting. NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley covering this from London.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.